The night I realized I was about to risk everything, the city outside my office window looked like it was holding its breath. 40 floors below, traffic lights pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and indifferent, while my own chest felt tight with a fear I had never known, not in boardrooms, not during hostile takeovers, not even when my name first appeared on the cover of a business magazine. I was a CEO who had built an empire from nothing, yet one decision, one confession of the heart, threatened to undo it all. Love had never asked me for permission before, and now it was demanding courage I wasn't sure I had. Before the story pulls you deeper, pause for just a moment. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in love that dares to challenge the rules, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. My name is Jonathan Hale, and for 15 years I ran a technology firm headquartered in downtown Chicago, Illinois. The company started in a rented garage in Evanston, fueled by sleepless nights and instant noodles, and grew into a publicly traded powerhouse with offices across the United States. I was known for precision, discipline, and an almost frightening level of emotional control. Investors trusted me because I never let feelings cloud decisions. Employees respected me because I demanded excellence but rewarded loyalty. What none of them knew was how lonely success can feel when it echoes through an empty penthouse. That loneliness began to shift the day Sarah Mitchell became my executive assistant. She wasn't flashy or loud, and she never tried to impress anyone. She had a calm presence, like a quiet lake that reflects more than it reveals. Sarah grew up in a small town in Ohio, studied organizational management, and carried herself with a humility that felt rare in corporate corridors. She remembered birthdays, anticipated problems before they surfaced, and somehow made even the most brutal workdays feel manageable. Over time, she became the axis around which my professional life spun. At first, I told myself my admiration was practical. Sarah made me more efficient, more grounded. She challenged my ideas respectfully, saved me from my own exhaustion, and reminded me to eat when I forgot. But admiration slowly blurred into something else, something dangerous. I noticed the way her face tightened when deadlines crushed us, the way she smiled at the smallest victories, the way she stayed late not out of obligation but commitment. I began to measure my days by whether she was in the office or not. The challenge wasn't just internal. Corporate policies were clear, and public scrutiny was ruthless. A CEO involved with his assistant was a scandal waiting to explode. One rumor could tank stock prices, ignite lawsuits, and dismantle everything I had built. I had watched other executives fall, their legacies reduced to cautionary tales. I told myself I was different. I told myself discipline would win. But the heart is stubborn, and mine refused to listen. Things began to change during a product crisis that threatened to sink our biggest launch. Competitors circled like sharks, the board demanded answers, and pressure mounted daily. I barely slept, surviving on coffee and adrenaline. Sarah was there through every meeting, every setback, every quiet moment when the office lights dimmed, and the weight of responsibility pressed down hard. In those moments, stripped of titles and power, we were just two people holding the line against chaos. I started seeing her not as my assistant, but as my equal in resilience. When the crisis finally passed and the launch succeeded, the relief felt hollow without sharing it fully. I realized then that my life had become a series of achievements with no one to truly come home to. Success without connection had started to feel like failure. The struggle intensified when a board member hinted at grooming a successor and tightening ethical oversight. I knew time was running out. Either I buried my feelings forever or I faced them and accepted the consequences. Weeks passed as I wrestled with fear, pride, and the image I had spent years crafting. The idea of proposing felt reckless, almost absurd, yet it was the most honest thing my heart demanded. One evening after everyone else had left, the office felt unusually still. The city lights reflected off the glass walls, and the silence amplified every thought. I looked at Sarah, working quietly as always, unaware that my entire world had narrowed to that moment. I didn't speak in dramatic words or rehearsed lines. I simply laid my truth bare, admitting the feelings I had tried to deny, acknowledging the risks, and offering not power or promises of ease, but commitment built on respect and choice. The days that followed were the hardest of my career. We disclosed everything properly, stepped back where necessary, and faced scrutiny head-on. Rumors spread, headlines speculated, and the board called emergency meetings. I prepared myself for resignation, for public judgment, for losing the company that carried my name. What surprised me was the response. Transparency disarmed suspicion. Policies protected integrity. And Sarah, standing firm in her own strength, refused to be seen as anything less than a professional who had earned every step. Gradually, the storm softened. Investors saw stability instead of scandal. Employees saw honesty instead of hypocrisy. I learned that leadership isn't about avoiding risk at all costs, but about choosing the risks worth taking. Love, I discovered, was one of them. As months passed, life took on a different rhythm. Work remained demanding, but it no longer consumed everything. Home became a place of warmth instead of silence. The proposal didn't end my career, it reshaped it. I became a better leader because I finally allowed myself to be human. If this story is touching something inside you, if it reminds you that courage sometimes means choosing the heart over fear, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories that speak to the soul. And before this story ends, I have one special request for you. Please comment below and tell us whether you believe love should ever be sacrificed for success, or if true success includes love itself. In the end, standing by the window of that same office months later, the city no longer felt like it was holding its breath. It felt alive, hopeful. I learned that risking everything doesn't always mean losing it all. Sometimes it means finally gaining what mattered most.